period of the hollow peace, the post-Cold War era, the seasons will change. Prophecy of La Salette, 1846. We have to expect a day when the balance of nature will be lost. Quetzalcoatl, Anno Domini 947. At a time when there is a great nation across the ocean that will be inhabited by peoples of different tribes and descent, many nations will be scourged by want and famine. St. Hildegard, 1141. All public cult will be interrupted. A terrible and cruel famine will commence in the whole world, and principally in the western regions, such as has never occurred since the world's beginning. João de Vatugueiro, 13th century. These conditions have not changed, for the hardships for this century have not begun yet, so far as the supply and demand for foods are concerned. Edgar Cayce, 1943, number 257-254. The earth dries up and withers. The world languishes and withers. The exalted of the earth languish. The earth is defiled by its people. They have disobeyed the laws, violated the statutes, and broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore a curse consumes the earth. Its people must bear their guilt. Therefore earth's inhabitants are burned up, and very few are left. Isaiah chapter 24, verses 4 through 6. Chapter 1. Day 1. Santa Pelagia, Mexico. The first thing Deauchez noticed when he woke up was how quiet it was. He arose from his makeshift bed on the couch and went to the window of Father Espanza's office, pulled back the heavy drapes, and blinked in the glare of the midday sun. The streets of Santa Pelagia were empty. Discarded blankets in dirty doorways, food wrappers, and other more personal cast-offs, like the baby shoe perched on a nearby flower pot, were the only evidence of the crowds that had so recently inundated the small village. Even the thick pall of fear was gone, leaving an aftertaste like that at the scene of a day-old car wreck. Deauchez checked his watch. He'd been out for 10 hours. He wished Martinez or Espanza had awakened him, but then they wouldn't unless he'd requested it, would they? And he hadn't said a word to them when he'd stumbled back through the dark last night, hadn't spoken, hadn't even checked the statue in the vestibule. To what end? It had bled, of course. Certainly the thing had bled. His own clothes had been covered with the stuff. He looked around now and noticed that the bloodied suit he'd left on the chair had been taken by someone. Somewhere a middle-aged woman scrubbed his things, watching mesmerized as the water turned red, all the while muttering breathless, endless novenas. A shrill bleeping sounded from his black leather bag. In a moment, Deauchez had the computer on the coffee table and opened it with a single smooth gesture. On screen was the red-capped visage of Brian Cardinal Donnelly.
Just getting up, Michel?
A moment ago, yes.
How are you feeling?
I'm perfectly well. Donnelly managed a distracted smile. He tapped a manila folder on his desk.
I read your report. Any further thoughts now that you've had some rest?
I have nothing to add, Your Eminence, except that from what I can see of the town, most of the pilgrims have already left.
Last night's was understood to be the final message, wasn't it?
Even so, the crowds must have been quite eager to get home. It's unfortunate. I was hoping to interview some of the witnesses. Donnelly leaned forward and studied Deauchez keenly.
There was something I missed in your report. You didn't specify. That is, you didn't exactly come right out and say whether or not you yourself saw... Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Deauchez had a brief flash of the old cypress in Sanchez's field, the leaf-laden, oddly twisted top branches shaking violently in a wind that made no sound. Nothing, he answered sharply. That is, as I wrote there, the mood in the crowd was thick with an almost opaque fear. Until you have been in such surroundings, you really cannot imagine how difficult it is to think clearly. It was a classic case of crowd hysteria. Donnelly was looking at him with an odd expression. Deauchez found he didn't much care for it. He told himself it was only because the lighting in the room was difficult, with the bright sun hitting him from behind. The laptop's inboard camera was not the best.